Welcome in then to the latest edition of Extra Time. Thank you very much for all of your questions. Stevie's here, Ali as well. Good to have me back, Stevie. You missed me? I haven't seen you for a couple of weeks.
Have you been away?
Shut up. No. Don't pretend. Don't pretend.
Can I just say, now that I have the chance of being here with both of you, last week, no, I think it was last week, you weren't here. Yeah. You were.
Yes.
And there was a question about Trent Alexander-Arnold and the comparison to Stevie Nicol.
Yeah.
And I must say, almost an emotional Dan Thomas was bringing perspective and speaking so highly of Stevie Nicol, so respectfully, with so much love and admiration. And then I thought, so much so that the lighting in the studio changed.
Yep.
It got emotional in here. I felt it. I felt the connection. I felt the love. And what surprises me is that when you guys are together, it's always back and forth. But when you're apart, you can't live without each other. So now you're here together, might as well profess your love.
On the occasions that we disagree, I do find myself thinking, how can I disagree with somebody who knows so much?
That is so wise. We're waiting for Sid and we're waiting for the questions. I'm not quite sure what we're going to do first.
Okay.
Do you want to is there a question?
All right.
Here we go. For Sid, great. What do you mean exactly? Choose another question then. I wish you could hear what's going on. Well, actually, I hope you don't, because someone would be without a job. It wouldn't be me. Okay.
Well, to be fair.
So, what do you make of the weather at the moment?
No. Hey, to be fair with the question, right? For something to go wrong, it has to actually have started well, right?
Oh, what was the question?
Is it how did it go so wrong this year?
Oh, okay.
But that
It didn't go wrong. They were just bad and they stayed bad.
Well, they were defending Champions League and La Liga winners. It started quite well. The bar's kind of
last year.
Yeah, well, it's not. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Sid Lowe is here. Hello, Sid.
All right.
What if it doesn't work now? Yes, it's no sound.
Great.
Magnificent.
Can't hear.
Okay, Sid, try again. Just say hello.
Hello, hello.
Hey! Oh, Sid. Producer Pete was having a massive breakdown.
Yeah,
It was very funny.
I wish I got a greeting like that when I got home.
Sid, where did it all go wrong for Madrid?
Do you mean tonight or over the course of the season?
I believe the season, because they did win tonight.
They did win tonight, and it was quite fun in a way, because it was a strange sort of game in which it kind of was drifting and it didn't seem to matter, and then you got these sort of 15, 20 minutes of everyone thinking, well, let's make it big at least to end it with. Where it went wrong this season, I think you've got so many different things you can pick up on that we could be here all night doing it. So I'm going to try and give you 2 or 3 very simple things. I think the signing of Kylian Mbappe, while there can never ever be any doubt about the value of having a player like him who scored his 40th goal tonight, is 28 in the league. I think that changed the nature of the dressing room. I think it changed the balance of the team. I think it changed some of the mindset. So that's part of it. I think the failure to replace Toni Kroos and to not have anyone who can really create football, because this is a team that just hasn't played well all season. Obviously, the injuries are a very, very big factor. They've missed key players, and I think in the case of Dani Carvajal, an absolutely fundamental player in terms of the attitude and the aggression and the competitiveness of him. I think they got a much better Barcelona team to compete against than they expected. And I guess in a way, maybe part of the problem was that they won everything last year. And it was maybe a bit of an assumption that they would do it again this year a bit too easily, and perhaps that undermined something that's very, very important, which is the determination to go and play.
Isn't it as simple as down year for Vini Jr., down year for Jude Bellingham, down year for Rodrygo? And you can go down the line in terms of the individual performances over the course of the season. Down years for everybody means down year for the team.
Should Real Madrid consider selling Vinicius and keeping Rodrygo? He's a better finisher and decision maker, just need a consistent run of games. The team could be more balanced that way, Stevie.
Is that one for me, Dan? Sorry.
No, it's for Stevie. Shut up.
Sorry.
I mean, personally, I would have no problem if they got rid of both of them. you know, and they can then have money to go and get a Verts or decide to change the way they play.
Kai Havertz?
No, Verts. Florian Verts.
Oh, Florian Verts.
Yeah, somebody like that.
You definitely put an A ahead there.
Verts.
Oh, Verts. Any Verts.
Like
Florian Verts.
A Florian
Arnold
Verts.
Verts.
So I wouldn't be averse. I wouldn't be averse to Vini gone.
You would not be averse to having Verts instead of Havertz.
That was a bad choice of word, wasn't it?
Sid, are we in any scenario in which Vinicius Jr. won't be a Real Madrid player at the start of next season?
Well, I was just thinking about that question that you just posed to Steve, and I think part of the answer would be that maybe there is a scenario in which you sell Vinicius, but it's not so that you can keep Rodrygo. I don't think it's a case of one or the other, and I don't think it's a case of sell Vinicius in order to keep Rodrygo. So I agree with Steve, the idea of losing both of them. I think Rodrygo is far more likely of the two to go, but Real Madrid do know that there is a difficult fit with Vinicius and Mbappe, that Vinicius has had a poor season, and of course that there could be an enormous offer for him. But I think it depends on the nature of the offer and where, because of course if you, let's say for argument's sake, you allow Vinicius to go to Saudi Arabia, and apologies for this if you're a fan of the Saudi League, from Real Madrid's point of view, they could not care less. If he goes to Saudi Arabia, he's gone, he's out of the game. There's no possibility of it coming back and biting you, at least not in the short term. You're not going to lose a European Cup because he scores against you in the semi-final. You know, you're not going to lose the league because he's playing for Barcelona and he scores in the Clásico. And so that would be, in a way, a kind of a win-win situation in that at least they wouldn't have that possibility of being made to look stupid. Now, would they rather keep him? Yes, I think they would, if they think they can find a way of making it work. So in a way, I think that's a question, and this doesn't always happen at Spanish clubs. I think this is a question for the coach, for Xabi Alonso when he comes in. Has he got a structure that works for both of them? Has he got a way of fitting them both in there? Rather than it being an institutional question, which I think a couple of months ago we would have thought it was much more of an institutional one than a coaching one.
To put it simply, Ali, who would you choose?
Between Rodrygo and...
No, between Mbappe and Vinicius Jr.
But right now, Kylian Mbappe. Yeah. If that's the choice that I'm given and I'm presented with that, I'm saying, give me Kylian Mbappe, and it saves me some of the other stuff that goes on with Vini Jr., and I still have the productivity, in fact, more productivity, more consistently. Yep. Yeah, I'd take Kylian Mbappe.
Sid, a prominent question considering what we saw a couple of years ago. Is there any chance that extra security is being put in place at Cornellà for tomorrow's Catalan derby so the Barca players are not running off the field because of pitch invasion like they did, of course, a couple of years back?
Well, in a way, you've kind of answered your own question with the question, Dan. The fact that happened 2 years ago means I think it's impossible to imagine any scenario in which there isn't extra security. Espanyol at an institutional level, at a club level, will be desperate to avoid that happening again. I'm actually amazed, I must admit, how little happened off the back of that. How bad that was, and how little happened off the back of it.
Yeah. Was it me and you were doing that, Ali? Was that, I'm trying to remember. And we couldn't quite believe what was going on. It was crazy.
So, at this point, I think we are hoping that there is extra security.
Well, it's got to be, goodness.
Well, yes, but the most obvious things that we think need to happen in some of these matches don't always happen. Look, if the viewer is hanging on to this thought, it's because it was important enough to actually bring it up, and it was impactful enough for it to make a difference. You'd have to imagine. Let's hope that that's the case.
A question for Sid. Which position should Barca look to strengthen ahead of next season?
Well, I think what we've seen possibly over the last, 2 or 3 weeks, and particularly in the 2 games against Inter Milan, is a desire, I think, to strengthen the 2 fullback positions. Not necessarily because you've got a problem if Balde and Jules Koundé are available. You haven't. Those 2 are exceptional. But you have got a problem when it comes to trying to find cover for them. You know, we've seen Eric Garcia, who actually played very well there, but he's a central defender. We've seen them try various options at left back with Gerard Martin and of course even Inigo Martinez filling in there. So I think those are the pressing ones. I also think that Barcelona are going to have to start thinking about what they do at centre forward. Now, I know that sounds like a ridiculous thing to say after the number of goals that Robert Lewandowski scored this year, and indeed after a season in which Ferran Torres has filled in for him really, really well indeed. But I think Barcelona do need to think about the mid and long-term solutions at centre forward.
Now, this is a slightly different question for you, Stevie.
Okay.
You played with some of the finest mustachioed players the top flight in England has ever seen. Did you ever consider growing a tash yourself? So when you
No.
think of tashes that you played with, Ian Rush,
Yeah.
Solid.
John Aldridge,
Terry McDermott.
Souness, did he have a tash?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, big one. Aye.
Oh.
Davy Johnson. Aye.
But did you ever try it?
It would have taken me about 3 years to grow it.
Would it be a ginger job?
It would be ginger, yeah.
Oh, man, that would.
Yeah, but it would take too long. I mean, they would have been moved on to a different style by the time mine would have been halfway grown.
Should the late flag offside law be changed, Ali?
It always goes back to the same question and the same principle and same idea, really. If it's obvious, just put the flag on.
Yes.
And there are offsides that are just simply too obvious for the referee or the assistant referee to not get involved. What troubles me about this, and I think it's something that everybody would agree with, is that you end up, when a player gets in behind and you think he's onside because the assistant referee hasn't raised his flag, you are panicking defensively. Now you're going on a full sprint. Now you're going to try to make a challenge. And in those sort of plays is when most injuries tend to happen, because you are exerting your body in the middle of the panic, in the middle of the nervous energy to try to get to a ball desperately because a player is going through on goal. So the risk of a bad challenge, the risk of unnecessary injury, I think goes up exponentially because we're unwilling to put the flag up and take on the responsibility that is, by definition, yours as an assistant referee. Put your flag up if it's offside.
So the best example of that would be Forrest at the weekend. I can't remember the centre forward's name. He's
Awaniyi.
Aye, he has ruptured his intestines when he hit the post. That's the best example of what you're talking about. The other thing that people don't realise, as a centre back or as a full back, or as just basically a member of the back four, it knocks you off for a spell. You know, the flag just doesn't go up eventually, and then you just go, yeah, I knew that. And the thing
Makes you doubt yourself.
it makes you cautious. Instead of straight away, and you're like, you do the opposite. You go, well done, boys, and then you're talking to everybody, congratulating everybody, getting them on the toes. Did a great job. It affects the back line as well. You just shouldn't forget that.
And one of the things that actually goes beyond just overexerting yourself or the risk of injury is the fact that sometimes they don't raise the flag. It doesn't end up in a goal scoring opportunity or in a goal or whatever. They don't go back to check it. Ends up in a corner kick, and the corner kick is given because nobody raised the flag. And then what if a goal comes from the corner kick? You don't seem to care, but that's okay.
I do care.
I don't know that you're invested in this conversation.
I do care very much.
He give you that look, didn't he?
Yeah,
You know that look he's got.
He's like, oh, okay, let's move it on.
I
Move
wish
it
you could
along.
replicate it. You know when you're talking to him, and
Yeah,
he gives you a look, and you're like,
No.
in the back of your head, you're going,
There's nothing there.
there's nothing. He's not even listening to what that shit.
There's
I'm
nothing
listening
there.
intently all the time.
There's nothing there.
Yeah, right.
Nothing there.
Final question, Mr. Nicol. What's the strangest medical treatment you ever had, and did it work? Lots of love from Sweden. Keep up the good work.
I'll tell you the worst medical treatment I ever had was getting a stinking, smelly, dirty, wet sponge smashed into my face as I'm lying on the ground with my jaw broken in two places.
Does it smell like wet dog? Is it that kind of smell?
Ah,
you know,
it's
you do the dishes.
It's just whose idea was this to begin with? That regardless of your injury, smash you in the face with a stinking smelly sponge that has been in a rubber bag, sat in the corner of the treatment room for a week, and then just comes out on a
You
Saturday.
hope it's a week.
Aye. That has to be it.
When was it you went to see the doctor at like 9 a.m. and he offered you a whiskey, so he had one himself?
Oh, that was a bit strange. He didn't actually offer me one.
Right, oh, it's just for himself.
It was Ronnie Moran and Roy Evans were with me.
Right.
I'd been away midweek with Scotland, and I had to come off after 10 minutes because I had a pain just above my heart.
Right.
And I couldn't run properly. And so me being so important to everybody,
Yes.
it wasn't until the Friday, this was the Wednesday the game was, it wasn't until Friday morning we were travelling to Dundee for a testimonial that they decided that I should go and see the doc,
Right.
who lived round the corner from Anfield.
Okay.
So the bus was leaving at 10 in the morning to go to Dundee. At 9 o'clock we were chapping on the old doc's door. Now the old doc had retired by this time,
Right.
and his son had taken over. But because he stayed round the corner, everybody thought, oh, we'll go and see the old doc and he'll clear me.
Okay.
So we go to the house, chap the door, 9 o'clock in the morning. He opens the door. He's got his nightgown on. You know,
Yes. His robe.
his robe.
Sort of like I've seen you.
Aye, he's got his robe on, and we go in the living room, and he doesn't even say anything. He goes to Ronnie and Roy, goes, can I interest you? He was Irish as well. Can I interest you in a little? And they were like, oh no. The doc was wanting to start at 9. Anyway, he gave me one of them, didn't he? He's fine. That was it.
Cheers.
That was me getting checked for the problem I had.
Sid's had some problems with his hip.
Oh.
That he made public when we were in Spain.
Okay.
He didn't quite get the sympathy that I think he was
Oh,
expecting.
expected.
What was your request, Sid? Some sort of seat or stand that you could use?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was a very simple request. It hurts to stand still and look at the camera, so I wondered if, yes, some sort of seat might resolve this problem, that I didn't have to stand.
Right.
I mean, assuming you're only looking at me from the waist upwards, it would make no difference if I was standing or sitting, would it?
I don't know. I think you need to stand to be a professional. Sid. Lazy.
Yes.
I believe
Yes.
otherwise.
Stand forever.
Have you sought
Get one of
treatment
those
for this,
chairs.
Sid?
Sid, I'll
Pardon?
send you one of these deck chairs where you strap it, so you can carry it to the game, right?
Please
And then when
do.
you get there, take it off, set it up,
Yeah.
and then sit on it. There you go. I've got two of them. We take down the beach.
All right. There is an image right there. You at the
Problem
Oh,
beach.
do you remember he sent me the picture?
Yeah.
He's got his white socks on.
Yes.
He's the right state.
Well, you don't want to burn your feet, you
No,
know.
that's very true. Sid,
Very sensible.
get some help for your hip. You know, you're only young. Come on.
You can get a new one, Sid.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what? That might be the best solution. Yeah, that'd be good.
There we go. Just have a complete refresh. That is it. ESPN FC returns tomorrow.